Hi guys, Ronnie here. Today we are not in the workshop. Today I want to tell you something about my gear choices in terms of helmet, shoes, and clothing, and I want to help you to avoid some mistakes that I have made. So if you are living in a climate that has all kinds of weather, then these things should be even more helpful. So the first tip I want to give you is to buy the best equipment that you can afford, because it's going to be much less expensive in the long run if you buy the right kind of gear at the first time without switching too many brands or some low quality stuff. Then the second choice, again, if you live in a temperate climate, if you have harsh winters and hot summers, then you're going to need a pretty large scale of things to keep you on the road. So you want to stick to as few brands as possible in order to be able to combine the different kind of garments without looking like a complete jerk. Because even though clothing is about comfort and performance, it's also about the looks, and I really like to pay attention to this because you're out there on the road and people tend to perceive the sport of cycling from the individuals that are doing it. So if you go out there and look like a professional with everything matching, then it's going to help your cycling community, because people think that cycling is cool, whereas there are some bad examples, of course. And you don't really need to have all the most expensive gear in order to look good, look professional, and look matched and fitted and so on, in short, just to look right. So let me just start at the bottom of the things. So yeah, for the footwear, one minor comment here. You perhaps have noticed a little theme with the black and white going on with my bikes and my gear as well. And why they do this? Again, to save money and complexity in the long run, because black and white is classy, will never go out of fashion, doesn't have any strange kind of graphics or anything that could look silly in a couple of years. And same with the bikes, same with the gear, and again, it's going to always match each other. Of course, you are able to still add a bit of color for visibility, mainly in winter, but that's another story. So I'll just start at the footwear. Cycling shoes, quite a specific, a rider specific thing. You don't really need to buy the most expensive of these, because I don't really like high-end Italian shoes, to be honest, because they're bulky, big, and heavy. I prefer lace-up shoes. These here from Giro and Specialized. These are lighter, more aero, less expensive. You don't have expensive boa dials to replace, just a set of laces if anything goes wrong. If you're really serious about cycling, then I would suggest to get two pairs of shoes like I have here. And that's because if you train every day and you get soaking wet one day, and you don't really want to put on some wet shoes the next day. So and shoes are really hard to dry overnight if the weather is not very warm. Same goes for the stage races. So I have two pairs of shoes. Actually, I use the Specialized S-Works only on races, and I use the Giros only on trainings because they already have a couple of scuffs on them. So yeah, just look sharper, and these are also a bit more racy in terms of fit. Then when you go to the overshoes side of things and socks, I prefer to run a bit longer socks than most people. I think a cyclist should wear longer socks, but that's just not a fashion debate so much here. But what you need to get on the road in all kinds of conditions, so you need a set of light shoes, light thin socks like this one. Montreja, you could have one or two pairs and just replace them every day. I also have these merino wool socks that I use in colder or rainy rides. They're excellent in the rain because they don't feel so cold. And then I have some special winter socks here. In terms of overshoes, this year's winter was really harsh, so I had to get these super thick neoprene overshoes, but they're not really necessary unless you ride in sub-zero conditions. Most of the time I prefer these. These are not neoprene, these are a soft shell material, and you're going to need a set of these to survive the winter. And if it's not that cold, or when it's a bit colder but dry, I use these just over socks, but they're basically socks that go over your shoe, self-explanatory, but they're not good for wet rides obviously. And for when it's not very cold, just around let's say 10 to 20 degrees Celsius, I tend to use these Velotoes rubber shoe covers, and mainly for races. They're not very warm, but they're very aero and very waterproof, so they go well for racing in the wet. Then if you go to summer gear, I have already shown you my Rapha Pro Team aerosuits. These are road racing aerosuits with pockets and short sleeves. I use them for basically all summer riding from 20 degrees Celsius to let's say 40 degrees. They're excellent in the wet because you only get one very thin layer on top, so it removes the heat from your core very well, much better than a bib short and jersey combination. Then for racing in milder climate, I use long sleeve jerseys completed with traditional bib shorts, so these keep you a bit warmer, and maybe in changeable conditions a mid-weight kind of jersey when it's not that warm, around 18 degrees Celsius let's say. So these are the things that I use in those conditions, and you can suit that with different kind of base layer. I have some very thin ones here, combine with these, let's say from 15 to 12 degrees Celsius, and when it's colder or windy I have this short sleeve base layer with a windproof layer on it, and that's very good for cold weather, and you still don't need to dress very bulky. For the rain, again, I have Rapha shadow set, so bib shorts with this very nice shadow material, excellent in the wet, and also a long sleeve jersey. Then one other piece of thing I want to clothing I want to comment on is champions jerseys and pro team kit, regular team kit, anything. Just to sum it up very quickly, if you're not a part of the team, you shouldn't wear that jersey, period. If you're not a national champion, world champion, anything, you should not wear that jersey because it just looks stupid. If you really want to support the team, the rider, buy their kit, but buy the kit from the brand that they use, and that way you support your team and you don't look like a jerk. This is my national time trial champions jersey. I don't really wear that because of course it's just a regular jersey, not really suited to time trialing, but I just didn't want to leave this without comment. So moving on, I also have this reflective G-lane there, a bit of contradiction with my previous statement. It's a Team Sky, but it's really kind of subtle and it's very visible. It's basically just a Brevet Gillette that Rapha sell. I use this for winter or cold weather rides, mainly in when I ride in the dark, so because it's extremely visible and it was very cheap, so that's why I got it. Otherwise it's not very useful because I have that base layer I have just shown you, so that basically replaces the G-layer without needing to put on another layer. Then if you touch on the subject of time trials, then this is my custom no pins time trial suit and some Rapha Aero socks to match. This is kind of a specialist gear. Unless you do time trials regularly or stage races, then you don't really need to invest in these, because a regular road racing skin suit like this one is going to do 99% of the job. Then moving on to winter gear. I forgot to mention, I really like to have 2 or 3 sets for each kind of weather condition, so from mild to very hot to winter cold, because that way you can train every day in fresh clothes and you don't need to do the washing every day, so you just do it in bulk when you have, let's say, 2 or 3 complete kits in there, and that's why you save a bit of energy, water and so on, and also your things are going to be fresh, well, I mean longer lasting. So for winter riding, I have this Rapha Pro Team Aerosuit in the winter long sleeve neoprene version. Really good, nice and tight fitting, good for fast riding in the winter. And this winter Pro Team training jacket, and I pair that with these thermal bib shorts. On my winter and bad weather riding kit, I go for these pink and more of a high visibility details to match the black and white or blue main colors, and that's just because visibility. I also use a rear light, so that's quite important. In summer, of course, you don't really need all that visibility, so it's okay to stick with black and white. Then again, winter theme here with the gloves. As I mentioned, the winter was very harsh, so I needed to get these very not very bulky, but very warm winter specific gloves from Rapha. Otherwise you don't really need them unless you ride in sub-zero conditions. Then these regular neoprene ones, great for wet weather and cold weather riding, but not enough in sub-zero temperatures. I also have these from Pearl-Izumi. They're black, so I can match them with the Rapha kit. They're looking too bad. And then hat-wise, again a couple of different hats for different conditions. This one is a thin one for milder weather, and then 2 very warm ones for winter. Sunglasses, that's another interesting topic. I prefer to run the classic Oakley's Jawbreakers. They're quite ubiquitous now, and I like these because they're really well designed in terms of durability. When you crash in these, there's a very small chance of scratching them, because they have these lips designed around the frame, so they hold up pretty well. They survive 2 crashes without any damage to the lens. And it's important if you choose a high quality pair of sunglasses, then they also should have replaceable lenses, because in poor conditions you're going to want to have a clear set of lenses, and that's what I have here. So this is a regular polarized kind of good weather lens, and then I also use a clear one when the weather turns bad. Helmet wise, if you're into time trialing, you definitely need to think about getting a time trial helmet, because that's going to be quite a bit faster in the TT position. Otherwise, just a regular helmet will do fine. I do like the Aero helmets because they offer some advantage in terms of drag, but I don't have a very hot head, so my head doesn't sweat too much, and I can get away with helmets that are not very well ventilated, even on very hot days, long climbs. So that might not be the case for you, and you might need a more ventilated helmet. 2 helmets, again for riding seriously, training every day and doing races. You really want to have 2 helmets, because if you crash one day at the race, you need to have a helmet as a spare, or same thing when washing it. or if anything happens to it, you need to have a spare helmet because you obviously can't go very far on the bike without it. Okay, so I think this pretty much sums it up. I tried to not go into too much detail, but to give you a pretty good idea of what are you going to need to be on the road for a lot of time without looking out of place. One reason why I'm stressing this quite a lot is I think consistency is the most important part of training, because you can do as much intensity if you want. If you do it once a week, you can do a 200-kilometer ride. It doesn't really matter if you're not doing it consistently, but if you want to keep on the road consistently, you're going to need good kit for all kinds of weather, so you don't really have an excuse to not go out. So in the end, it's going to be a big performance advantage if you are well prepared, even more so than having a very high performance bike, because it's more about the rider really. And if you're not comfortable, or if you're not going out at all, it's just not going to work out. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this detailed view of my cycling wardrobe. If you'd like to see more about my other cycling gear, my bikes, and my technical tips, then don't forget to tune into my channel and subscribe. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.